Hello my students of class 8 and welcome back to your English class. Today we would be proceeding with the discussion of the question answers of how the camel got his hump. Since this is a text from the supplementary reader, expect some inside questions from these chapters as well, something very simple, and I think all of you can write those answers as well. But for the class we would be discussing the question answers which are given in the comprehension check, both the comprehension check. Okay, so take out your books, take out a pencil. I'm very sure that after reading the story, all of you have been able to solve the comprehension checks on your own because the answers are quite simple and I think they are based on facts inside the text itself. Okay, so let us proceed with the discussion. To recapitulate a little bit, what is this story about? How the camel got his hump? This story is written in a fable form and it is an adaptation of a story by Rudyard Kipling. Here we understand that a camel used to be a very idle, lazy, self-centric, self-obsessed creature who would simply admire himself, his own reflection, and he would not bother to even reply properly to anybody. Okay, whether it were animals or even the jinn, he did not give anybody else any kind of attention. But he gets spotted by the three other animals who were employed by man to work. Even though they repeatedly ask him to join forces with them, he does not give them a reply and simply say Okay, simply say and this makes them kind of frustrated. They go to the man and the man, instead of going to the camel to ask him to join forces with them, tells them that we should just leave this creature alone. Maybe that animal is not able to work. And so you three have to work extra time to make up for the work which he is not doing. So obviously these three animals get really angry with him. And what do? They become very angry and they express their anger amongst themselves. At that moment, the ruler of the desert, the magical creature Jinn, appears out of nowhere. Okay, and he talks with the three and assures them that somehow he would find out a way to make the camel work. Now come to the second section of the story. In the second section of the story, we find that the jinn approaches the camel who was busy in admiring himself in a pool of water. Okay, and even though the jinn talks to him in a polite manner, the camel gives his classic reply, hump. Okay, so after that, since jinn was a powerful creature and he was a powerful person and not really a person, he was a magical creature. Okay, so jinn was quite powerful, we can understand that, and he thought himself to be the ruler of the deserts. So obviously he does not like the fact that the camel was repeatedly rebuffing him. That means he was not replying to him properly. Okay, and so what did he do? He cursed the camel. He cursed the camel and the camel grew a hump on his back. Suddenly his back started puffing up and he got a hump. However, the jinn gathers himself up in the very next moment and informs the camel that even though you have the hump, it will not be a hindrance to your work. If you want to work, you can easily work without eating for several days because the hump will provide you extra source of food. Okay, there comes the end of the chapter with this fact which is given, this story which is given, and it's an amusing story and we understand how the camel got his hump. And now the first question that you have in the first comprehension check is, what tasks do you think were assigned to the dog and the ox? So what do you think the tasks were given? What tasks were given to them? The dog was probably given the task of fetching and carrying sticks for the man. The ox was given the job of plowing his field. Okay, so these two jobs you will have to say. The next question is, why did the camel live in the middle of the desert? The camel lived in the middle of the desert because he was a very self-centric and lazy animal. He did not like to mix with other animals. He did not like to work for man. And so he found himself a place in the desert where he lived alone without having any company, and he survived on thorns and prickles and thorny bushes. Okay, sticks and thorns and prickles. He used to survive on that. And whenever anybody talked with him or approached him, he replied with a hump. All this information is not required to be added. You can simply say that his nature was such that he was not able to, he did not like to live where other animals did. He liked to live on his own. He was quite self-obsessed and he was lazy as well. So he did not like to work for the man. So he found his place in the desert where nobody else lived. Okay. Next question is, what made the dog, the horse and the ox very angry? It's very easy. The ox, the dog and the horse were very angry when the man told them that in order to make up for the work not done by the camel, they have to work double. They have to work extra time. So they became angry because of the camel, they had to work more. And so they were angry with the camel. Okay. This unequal distribution of work was not appreciated by them, and so they became angry. The next question is, how did the jinn know the horse was complaining against the camel? Well, as the jinn was in charge of the entire desert area, of all the deserts, so he had an understanding, and he was a magical creature, so he had an inner understanding of whatever people were thinking or they were talking. The animals were talking among themselves. They were expressing their frustration. They were complaining about the camel, and the camel lived in the desert, and the desert was under the charge of the jinn. And so the jinn understood the complaint of the three, and so he appeared in front of them and assured them that they will get some help regarding making the camel work. Okay, so as he was, the answer will be, as he was in charge of all the deserts and knew about everything concerning the desert and every creature which lived there, he found out about the complaint of the horse regarding the camel. Okay, so it will just be a two-line answer. You can write it on your own. The next question is, the camel. Now come to the next comprehension check which is given. The camel was looking at his own reflection in the pool. What does it suggest? Okay, we have already discussed about it, right, during the class itself. Well, the camel looking at his own reflection in the pool of water suggests that he liked to admire himself. He was proud of his appearance, especially of his beautiful back. Okay, beautiful straight back. He liked it, and he was a self-obsessed, self-centric creature, and he liked to admire himself. Okay, so many things I told you. You can just write it in one line, that the camel was proud, self-obsessed animal who liked to admire his reflection, especially he was admiring his back in the pool of water. Okay, so next question is, the camel said hump repeatedly. How did it affect him? How did it affect him? It affected him how? When it affected him? When the jinn cursed him, right? And his back puffed up. So, by saying hump repeatedly, he angered the jinn, who warned him about not repeating the same sound again. And after the jinn was angered, he cursed him with a hump on his back, and the camel, because of saying the word hump repeatedly, got a puffy hump on his back. So this is how it affected him, right? So you can say that in spite of the warning given by the jinn, the camel went on saying hump. How did it affect him? It affected him when jinn cursed him with a hump on his back. Okay, so he actually literally translated the word hump into an actual hump on his back. Okay, this is how the jinn got back at him. Anyway, question number 3 and 4, both of them you can attempt on your own. It will be a homework. So after the end of today's session, today itself, I will put up the question answers for your writing. You have to give it to me and try to write it in your own words. The answers are very simple, but write with proper intonation, okay? Proper punctuation and proper tense, something which many of you are making a bit of mistake with. Don't mix up the tense. If the question is asked in a certain tense, you will try to attempt the answer in the same tense. Okay, so thank you for today's class.